This raises the question, is library as a physical space essential now? It is the change of information resources from print to electronic media and services from manual to online which questions the concepts and principles for sustaining library as space and place. Many from outside the profession consider that library as a space is not essential in this virtual era. But virtual universities are there, virtual classrooms are there. So will there be no college or no university? That is another question. Those who consider that library as a space is essential argue that it is indispensable for most library functions expected in the digital age also, for which there is no alternative. If the physical space of library is still essential, when information is accessible and available electronically everywhere, the user's requirements may differ, and in designing the library space, we have to take into consideration this new requirement. As Professor Ramesh has stressed yesterday, users will be coming mainly for experience, inspiration, interaction, and collaboration. He also displayed a very functional model design that can accommodate these new requirements. So I am not going into the interior space of the library. I will be dealing with the aesthetic aspects of the library building and something about the interior arrangement only. As in traditional systems, in ICT-based systems also, building is going to remain an umbrella sheltering humans and knowledge resources, and real and virtual, as well as blending them with teaching, learning, research, or social, cultural, and other development activities going on around the library. The majority of expected users in the society will require library as a space. Ms. Laila T. Abraham was yesterday mentioning in her paper about the farmers living in remote villages who are major contributors to our development. They require information services. Even with digital, virtual, and interactive knowledge meant for them, they will require space and guidance that can be given only at a space meant for that. Hence, sustaining the library space and place is important in all contexts, at least in most contexts. The library as a building, together with the municipal town hall, the school, and the places of worship, the temple, the mosque, and the church, were unforgettable symbols of public spaces. A building synonymous with knowledge and access to knowledge from the very beginning of time, that symbol is closely associated with knowledge and scholarship. In recent times, we were considering these heritage structures as not fit for high-tech systems. Many have been altered or dismantled heartlessly. One of the best examples of thoughtless destruction can be seen at Kerala in Trivandrum Public Library, the first public library of India established in 1832, which along with its environment needed protection as a national monument. Two adjacent buildings have been constructed close to it, destroying its original view. Another side stands extended with an ordinary but huge concrete structure. You can find numerous such instances that happened in the last decade throughout all the regions of India. The Trivandrum building was modeled after British Museum Library, which has evolved a marvel of architectural design. British Museum, even though its collection has increased 1,000 times, has never changed even a corner of the heritage building. A forethought on coming digital and virtual libraries could surely have prevented this. Adoption of new technologies necessitates only replanning of the space in these structures, not their removal or alteration or even extension. So with scientific collection management, I think ICT can surely help to conserve these heritage structures. For now, the space requirement is diminishing, and we are going to use space vacated by hard copies for providing space for inspiration and experience, as Professor Ramesh has put yesterday. The architectural expression and location of the library should continue to reflect the unique legacy of traditions if the professionals and academics remain a really educated and civilized community. Aesthetics was the primary concern of library architecture of the past. Many virtual library projects taking designs of the ancient library buildings and their interiors show that ICT appreciates the value of this heritage. So a building should not only mask the mechanism inside, but also must be expressive, inspiring, and exciting. According to Laurie Baker, the great architect, the quality and aesthetics of urban fabric and landscape relies on composition of building forms. If the exterior form of the building gives a dull look, the quality of an urban or campus experience, such as walking, touring, etc., will depreciate as time goes by. living in an information society needs to be living as normally as we will be. The only thing that should change is the continual support of technologies in our everyday lives. We should be able to walk in the park or jog through urban space. For this, architecture and forms should continue as usual, continue to please the observer. As discussed earlier, technology has changed the nature of requirement for space. Less space is needed for the collections which once occupied 70% of the library space. Instead of books, we need to keep computer software and hardware, which also will require only less than 1% of space used earlier by collections, hard copy collections. So organizing of functions in existing buildings, not expansion of space, that will be required in future. Successful library designs needs to be an integration of traditional elements and advanced technologies. Anyhow, focus of libraries are shifting from collection to connections and communication, and from storage to facilitating access in order to better respond to the users of the networked society. This needs to reflect in building construction or modification, which is to be future-proof to maximum extent. Library buildings now needs to be built around IP-enabled network infrastructures rather than vice versa. That is new buildings. Till recently, most ICT infrastructures were fitted into existing physical superstructures of brick, concrete, and steel. Even in recent architecture, the needs of ICT were largely subservient to those of conventional building design. ICT hardware and connections to be used in library, even in buildings meant for ICT-based systems, were to most architects an afterthought compared to the priority given to other aspects in building like plumbing, for water, power, lifts, etc. But now we need to identify before constructing a new building or modifying an existing one where we will plug in computers, surveys, hubs, modems, network printers, and other electronic devices like CCTV, entrance security, environmental monitors, fire alarms, which can all now be migrated to a single all-encompassing IP network infrastructure. There is no common formula for conceiving all libraries. Each library design emerges according to its peculiarity, governing conditions, climate, site, surroundings, backed by attitudes, philosophy, and goals. Best example is the DVK library, where this program is going on, the facilities of which are developed for some special groups with innovative ideas like garden library, etc., which can even transcend the limitations originally thought of. Earlier, the library intended to give books for use in the library. They have to take the books to the garden library of DVK. Now, ICT can enable the use of all resources of the library at the garden without physically moving them. When Father John has envisioned that garden library, this technology was not there, and he was not dreamed this possibility at that library. Constructing a new library building or altering an existing space needs serious research, planning, and discussions over time, and involvement of experts from all concerned fields. My view is that the committee for planning library space should consist of architect, engineer, administrators, network administrators, studio acoustic experts, interior designers, and a senior librarian with prior experience in developing physical facilities. They have to collaborate to ensure that library has space and place, ensure that the library has space and place will fulfill current and future requirements. While the arguments on and against the need for library space in networked society with virtual or digital libraries is going on, an interesting development we need to note is occurring: augmented reality, which blends traditional and digital systems. As stated by the few speakers yesterday, predictions on paperless society have not materialized even after 4 decades. While the virtual world of websites and chat rooms provide an intoxicating array of new experiences, it is not realistic to think that we can dissociate ourselves from our physical space and content in near future. Virtual libraries and museums are really modeled on the best examples that physically existed, but with more functionality. Some examples are Doorlink Interslay products. They have virtual museums and virtual libraries on bird, cat, etc. That contained specialized information on those aspects which could contain only in a huge physical library. But augmented reality combines the real and virtual objects in a real environment by correct alignment. The user walks through the physical world with items which in addition contains a million more forms and content that physical world through which he moves contain. There is our physical involvement and experience which is extended by virtual reality. Railway platform in Gandhi's one virtual museum available in Maharashtra is a very good example for using this technology. In the world today, the demand for more physical interaction is needed as the efficiency of technology has caused a decrease in real human connectivity. With facilities offered by ICT, library can go back to earlier stage of the revolution as comfortable and luxurious center of learning and scholarship. To conclude, let me quote Marian Bookchin: "There is no such word as technology that presides over all social conditions and relations. There are different technologies and attitudes towards technology, some of which are indispensable to restoring the balance between humanity and nature, others of which have contributed profoundly to its destruction. What humanity needs is not wholesale discarding of advanced technologies, but an intelligent consideration and further development of technology along ecological principles that will contribute to new harmonization of society and the natural world. Virtual spaces, houses, and buildings could be a reality in the distant future, but experience of physical and real space is still immeasurable. Real life is still the best high bandwidth of experience." That is quotation. Thank you.